Good morning, Coach. The other day, I watched you with the interview with Yogi Roth and Ashley Adamson on the Big Ten Network. You had talked about how Jaden Mahava is a different version of himself. Can you maybe peel back the layers a little bit? Did that happen? Did you know, was this a gradual thing? Did it happen during the spring? Was there a seminal moment maybe that all of a sudden you said, you know what, this is Jaden's team? And then I have a follow-up question as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just some of the conversations after the season, after the bowl win. It was just such that stretch for Jaden, when he became the starter. It was kind of fast and furious. And I think it was just getting ready to play each week and, trying to play as good as he could. And he's still kind of learning the team and still kind of learning the system and just all the focus was on that. And I think at the end, when we and he got a chance to just kind of catch our breath a little bit and say, all right, how did this go? Where can we get better? Like, what does the next steps look like? I think that was one of the things that, both Coach Ewart and myself spent a lot of time with him on was the the leadership piece of it, really, the team and the offense and just everybody feeling, his personality more. It's a very different scenario right now. And I think we challenged him in a lot of ways to come out of his shell. And really take ownership of this group. And he's done that. I mean, I don't think it was gradual. He's not a guy that's just gonna certainly in the beginning, he wasn't a guy that was just going to go out there and give some like rousing 40-minute speech to the guys. Like that's not really his personality, but you've just seen more and more as time's gone on. He's been more vocal with the guys. He's been, yeah, just kind of his attitude, his confidence, his kind of the swagger that he carries himself with is just very, very different. You feel his personality a lot more, and I think he's very comfortable, in a good way with, his standing on this team. I think he's very comfortable with what we're doing schematically. He's got more
If you
confident
find
as a
that
player,
over-the-counter
and
medication,
yeah, you can just feel, it just feels different. It does. It's from a guy that's kind of figuring out to a guy that like knowing he belongs and he knows what this team now needs out of him and he knows how to give it to him.
And then last year, you went with the practice of naming your team captains on a weekly basis. Are you going to continue that, or are you going to go back to the more traditional style of these are our team captains for the season?
We're gonna stay on a weekly basis. We were happy with how that played out. We had some guys that were captains a lot, but it's going to be on a, kind of what have you done for the team lately? Kind of done in that manner, and just felt like it gave some different guys an opportunity to step up. And then also, if you are a captain, that doesn't mean, well, I'm just going to be one the next week just because I was elected in August. It's like, if you're a great leader, then that leadership ought to get better and improve, and that ought to be consistent. And, those guys ought to be held accountable just like any other position battle on the team. So the feedback from our players and coaches was they really thought that was positive, and so that'll continue.
Connor?
Morning, Coach. Two quick questions. First, do you have a update on Jacoby Lane and his health? And secondly, we've seen Walter Matthews taking some reps with the offensive lineman during the media viewing period of practice. Is that part of a transition for him? Is he just working on his blocking as a tight end? What's the rationale for that? Thank you.
Yeah, Jacoby's full go now. It's been full go for the last I don't know, 4 or 5 days probably. Was kind of a build up from there. He Yeah, had a broken foot in May, and so had to heal up from that, and so but has been doing well and progressed, even a little bit ahead of schedule. So yeah, he's been full go here for about the last week, and so getting him back in shape and kind of getting him just kind of back in the fold after missing some of that time. But yeah, you can see some of the rust starting to get knocked off now. Yeah, Walter, no, Walter's still tight end for us. Just at different points throughout practice, we rotate our tight ends down to work with our linemen to make sure that they're sharpening up those skills. So, but no, certainly still in the tight end room and at that position for us.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ryan Karchi.
Hey, Lincoln. Uh, just wondering, it's been 8 months now that you've been working with Chad Bowden. Just curious, what would you say you've learned about him over the course of that time? And just second question, just in talking to people in his past, I know they all kind of have referenced kind of outside the box ideas he's had and, trying to push the envelope with things recruiting wise or within a program. I guess I wonder if there's anything that stands out in that regard in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I think we've worked really well together. You know, I think you mentioned the outside the box thinking. I think that's one of the things that we kind of found common ground on, pretty quickly. It's something we both take pride in and both appreciate and try to be good at. So, it's been great to work with him. I mean, it's great having somebody there that's like constantly thinking of what we're, things that we're doing. How can we make it better in any way? Sometimes it's really small details. Sometimes the conversations are very big picture, but it's gone well. I mean, I think in a lot of ways it doesn't really feel like that it's only been 8 months. And that just I feel like we're in sync with a lot and able to communicate and it's great having people that come from different backgrounds that have experienced different things because you get a snapshot into that and it makes you look at all the things that we've done and where can we do it better? How does somebody else do it? Is there just all of that? So no, it's been very positive. Chad, his entire staff, the entire personnel staff has been really has been excellent. Yeah, in terms of his outside the box thinking, we've spent a lot of time on roster construction. We've obviously spent a lot of time on, talking about the financial piece of how that's going to work. And so most days either he or I've got some type of crazy idea that's, it's either genius or maybe one of the dumbest things ever suggested. And typically, you're trying to sort through which one it is. That's how most good ideas start. So, yeah, from that to team travel to to everything. I do appreciate that there's some having somebody here, and not that we haven't, but Chad, I think really pushes the issue on not being satisfied with anything just because that's how we've done it before. Asking questions, challenging things that we've done. Just the kind of the conversations are very proactive and very forward thinking, and it's great having somebody that can dedicate all of their time, to that. And so yeah, it's I think my confidence that when I'm holed up in the room working on a game plan or a practice plan or this and that, that the other parts of the program are moving at the level that we would expect is as high as it's ever been.
So he hasn't asked you to jump out of a helicopter yet. Or-
uh, we've gotten down the road on quite a few things, so you never know.
Thanks.
Jordan.
Hey, Lincoln. I know one of the central themes of last season was being able to finish games. And so for this season, have you kind of taken an approach and kind of installing into the team like how we need to finish games, how we need to finish strong, keep leads? And if so, like how do you kind of process that or like try to implement that into an off-season camp?
Well, the overlying message for this team, I mean, I think there's two pieces of it. I mean, I think one, I'm not going to use the exact verbiage we use with our guys, but I mean, one has been for to take those next steps. Every part of the program's got to get a little better. I mean, what last year revealed is there's not any part of the program that's not pretty good or on the doorstep of being pretty good. If not, you don't have the chance to win damn near every single game you played in the fourth quarter. But also to finish those. And again, it's not just finishing at the end of the games. It's separating when you've got that lead in the third quarter and putting the thing pretty close to out of reach. There's all these different moments through the game that culminate into the end, and everybody just sees the ends. And we were good at some of the end of games. We had a couple of 2-minute drives where we won games, some 2-minute stops where we won games. We obviously had some that we didn't. But so I think I didn't want to be short-sighted and it only be about, oh, we got to, finish these games at the end. Are we working on end of game situations and emphasizing that, talking about that? Of course we are. But the reality is every part of this program needs to be a little bit better to take the steps of where we want to be. And I think that has been a huge emphasis point. The second piece of it has been, I think, the attention to detail, the discipline and accountability in the program, and again, really talking about the job that Coach Carroll, True and his staff, they've done a tremendous job with, and we've changed. Those have probably been some of the biggest changes in the program from last year to this year, philosophically, in terms of that approach. And we've just changed a lot of the ways in which we operate with regards to not only strength and conditioning, but just it kind of bleeds into every other part of the program as well. And so I think the attention to detail, the discipline combined with we need every single part of the program, coaches, defense, offense, special teams, like every part of it to be a little bit better. And that's been our, again, it's not the exact verbiage we use with the guys, but those have been the two things that we're really hanging our hat on.
Scott?
Take myself off mute here. I got two questions also. The first one is on Monday you found out that DJ wasn't granted his injunction, but West Virginia had four guys that were granted injunction. They are eligible to play this season. Just your thoughts on that. And second question, just on Eli Sanders. You guys have some pretty talented backs in the room right now. Where does he fit in the offense for this season?
Yeah. So yeah, the Wingfield situation. Yeah, yeah, I'm a little bit at a loss for words on it, to be honest. I mean, this is where we're at right now, is that your eligibility depends on what state that you're in and which judge that you get. I mean, which is like we just need to like stop ourselves like just for a second and think about that. We've got a national sport that's run by a national organization, but your eligibility depends on, which has been a huge question mark for so many people, then depends on what state you're in and what judge that you get and what lawyer that you have on in your trial. I mean, it's sad that it's gotten to this point, to be completely honest. Again, I hate it not just for DJ, but for all the different guys out there that were held in limbo for a long time, and the lack of direction given by the NCAA. This would be one thing if this was one person trying to game the system and get an extra year. I understand the stance behind not letting them play. Like the standards are the standards, that's it. But look how many guys across the country, right, are in this situation. Like this is not one misunderstanding. This is not one guy trying to game the system. This is the fact that, and understandably, we were all going through the NCAA, all of us as institutions, employees, players, all of it. We were all going through massive changes, right? There were questions, like nobody really knew what was going to happen, and the settlement and NIL, like all this stuff going on. And so like we understand that there was some indecision on the NCAA's part about all of this. Like I get that. There's also a lot of indecision for these kids and for us as institutions. Like, and you got guys trying to make decisions in December, January, all that, when none of this was even agreed upon. And now, so now you've got all these guys in this situation, and it's just hard for me to fathom why we wouldn't do the right thing and have a blanket waiver to let these guys play. Because I mean, if again, it's not one person. You're talking about a lot of guys across the country, and for it to come down to what state that you're in, I mean, it makes no sense. So it's really frustrating. I know it's really frustrating for the kid. He's been awesome. That came out to practice yesterday. It was great to see him. But it's heartbreaking for these guys. And again, not just a guy playing for us. Like I've said, this would impact other teams that we're going to play against. But the reality is, like these kids should play. And there was too much indecision and too much going on and not enough national direction. And now that we've got this state by state thing, it's not good for these kids. It's not a good look for college football. It's just, I surely hope that we get it right because these kids don't get do-overs. Uh, the Eli Sanders, Eli's had one of the best, I would say, training camps of anyone. He has really made a move during camp. He was good in spring. He's been better in camp. Um, we have a ton of confidence in him. I mean, there's no question. I mean, he's probably the most explosive back in the room. And you kind of saw that with his yards per carry and yards per touch, the production that he had last year. And that was one of the first things we noticed. But I would say he has really come on in that he's not just a speed, kind of situational back. I mean, his pass protection, his running in between the tackles, his ability to catch the ball. I expect him to be a dynamic playmaker for us on offense, as well as on special teams.
Thank you.
Haley?
Good morning. What was Kamari Ramsey like when you first met him, and what has allowed him to become the more vocal leader that he is today?
He was quiet, had a fun personality, but really quiet, really reserved. I think kind of like some of these transfers, you don't really get to know them through that process. It's very different than a high school recruiting process. I think as time has went on, in some ways, kind of like the previous question with Jaden Mahava, a guy that was a little bit more reserved, that maybe wasn't super comfortable being at the front of the room or being the position group leader or one of the alphas, that I think as time has gone on, I think he's matured. I think he's gotten more comfortable in those scenarios. I think he's been willing to put himself out there a little bit more, knowing that our team and our defense needs that from him. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just see now, I see when the team breaks down, him talking to the guys, him getting on the team when he knows that we need to be better in a certain area. You again, more vocal. You're seeing more of his personality, a little bit more of his fire. I think not just in between the whistles now, but kind of. In those times where the team needs his leadership, you see him like step up and be one of the first ones to do it, which is cool. So yeah, he's evolved a lot. And I think, USC is important to him. Winning is important to him. Us playing great defense is important to him. And he knows that not just his play, but his leadership is a big part of that.
So given that you've kind of seen this pattern before with, Jaden and probably other players, is this something that you expected Kamari to do, or was this kind of a surprise?
No, I would say expected. I would say expected. I felt like he had it in him. Sometimes guys have just got to find their place a little bit, find their voice. You know, their confidence of being a leader and being one of the guys to step out there and do it, and sometimes say the things that aren't popular or not going to make you friends, but they're going to make your team better. So yeah, I think he always felt like he had it, and it's just he's like that young talented guy that hasn't figured it out yet. That all of a sudden they're starting to figure it out, and that's kind of been him as a leader.
All right, we have time for one more. Eric McKinney.
Hey, Coach. I know Desmond Stevens played a bit last year, but seems ready to step into a significant role for you guys this year as a young guy. Wondering if you could go back a bit and expectations for him when you first saw him. Is this what you saw early in his career, and how he's kind of developed and grown on and off the field to be ready to take this on this year?
Yeah, we had pretty high expectations. I mean, I feel like even during his recruitment, when we got on him, which was a pretty late deal, we were pretty confident we had a little bit of a diamond in the rough. Especially after we got to meet him, his family, get around him. We felt like that we really found a good one that was massively under recruited. And I give Weston Zernical and Dave Emmerich in our office a lot of credit, because during that time, those were the guys that really zeroed in on Dez when he was pretty under the radar. And yeah, I mean, from the day one that he got here, he never really felt like a true freshman. Like, he always felt like he was a little bit older and more mature and down the line than what he is. And I would say that's just continued. Last year as a true freshman, he felt like a guy that was probably like a second year player, right? That way he carried himself, the way he worked, his ability to process, his ability to compete, was higher than most freshmen. Looking at him now as a second year player, he feels more like a veteran almost now. He doesn't make many mental mistakes. Is very internally motivated. He's improved in a lot of areas in terms of just his play, his understanding of the game, our defense. Yeah, and I don't think for one second with this current team as it's ever felt like anything but. This guy's going to be a big time leader and a really good player for us. So he just kind of continues to. He's just steady, man. He continues to get better. You don't really worry about him on a day-to-day basis. He just kind of just keeps going. He's there every day. He's locked in every day, and he just keeps making those incremental jumps. And when you got his talent along with that type of mindset, you got a chance to have something really good.